Cool. All right, so welcome everyone. Last week we covered conditions and loops. We will review that a little bit today. And this week we are going to make a tiny little kind of crude calculator that you can run on the command line. So first we'll spend maybe 15-20 minutes reviewing, and then we'll dive into the calculator. So last week we did conditions. Can anyone describe to me what a condition is? Yes. Can you talk a little more about it? Yep. Yep. So things like if, else, these are all parts of conditions. Conditions, it's kind of conditional logic. If this, then do this. So let's see. And we also did a little bit of function stuff. If you're going to write else, what do you need? You can't have else without, correct, if. Again, super basics for our people who know some tech stuff already. That's a giveaway. That's a giveaway too. Okay, so that's conditions, pretty much execution in a continuous block of conditions will stop at the first successful one. Okay, so you have if and then every else immediately after that at the same level, they'll be tied together. The first one that's good, it'll jump out. So if this is true, these will not even be evaluated. If this is false and this is true, this will be evaluated and this will not, and so on and so forth. If neither of these are true, or if neither of these are true, then this will be evaluated. Does anyone remember switch case? Maybe. Yep. Correct. So you can, if this was set up like this, and my number was set to 1, what would happen is it would check my number, and then this would be successful. My number is equal to 1. And then this would execute, but then it would continue execution. That's called fall through. So then it would execute this. And then when it hits this break, then it would jump out. Okay? So that's a case where if one thing is true, then you want multiple things to happen, you can use switch case to make things a little cleaner. If we did this, and this is true, then it would stop right here. Okay? Questions about these things, or everyone's like kind of bored? All right. And with strings, for comparisons, normally you do like 1 double equals 1, right? But with objects, or specifically in our case strings, you have to use the equals function. Okay, and it operates almost the same as this. Okay, so that will give you true or false. Everyone getting kind of remembering conditions and these sorts of things? People bored to tears. We'll go a little faster. All right, so loops. What are the two kinds of loops? Actually, don't look. What are the two kinds of loops? One begins with an F, one begins with a W. Yep, that's one. For. While. Yes, for and while. So for is basically, you can do a while loop like a for loop. Like these two are very similar in this case. I think the counting is slightly different. But so in a for loop, you have 3 spots. You have your initialization, you have your continuation condition, and you have your iteration step. Okay? So this starts the loop. This is the first thing that happens before each run. And then if this condition is true, it keeps going. Okay? And then at the end of each run, it does this. And in this case, I++ is the same as saying I equals I+1. We're basically taking I and increasing it by 1. The term for that is increment. So increment goes up, decrement goes down. Okay? And then the while loop is similar. In this case, we do the continuation step the initialization step before the while loop, right? And we could have done something like this. Or I think we did it down here, actually. Yeah, we kind of did it down here. But to get the same thing, we would do something like this. This would be functionally the same. Okay? So this is our initialization step. And your continuation step, the condition that must be true for the loop to keep going, goes in here. And then this is the body of the loop. This is what will happen each time it repeats. Yeah. And then there's also a do while. Whereas a while, if it was this, none of this code would run, ever. Okay? In this case, if we do a do, then a while, this code is guaranteed to run at least once. And then if this condition is true, then it will continue. Okay? Any questions? That was a lot less than 15 minutes. I see some puzzling looks. We good? We good? All right. And then we did a kind of an example task where I asked everyone to count from 0 to, or from 10 to 0 and print out whether or not the number was odd or even. And this is what we came up with. We basically looped starting at 10, and we would continue if the number was greater than or equal to 0. And instead of going up each step, we went down each step, decrement. If I is 0, 0 is technically neither even or odd, so we print that out. Otherwise, can anyone remind me what the modulo operator does? Correct. So if you take some number and you divide it by 2, and the remainder is 0, it is an even number. So in that case, we print even, and otherwise we say it's not even or it's odd. Okay? Questions about this? All right, let's get to today's stuff. So, today, we are going to create our own calculator. So, just like always, let's make a new project folder. So, I'm going to go to my project folder. Whoops. And I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it, what is it, June still? I'm going to call it June Calculator. You can call it whatever you want. Okay. And then in Sublime, I'm going to do project, add folder to project. No. Yes. And then I'm going to navigate to my project folder. And I'm going to select it. And I promise you that after today, we won't need to do Sublime stuff anymore. I just wanted to get you guys used to using Sublime. Okay, so now I have my project folder, new file, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it as calculator.java. Okay? Give people a couple minutes to catch up. We might actually finish early today. And just whenever you've caught up, just give me a signal to let me know you're ready. Good, good. All right, I think everyone's good. Okay, so given my file name, what are we going to type first? Yep. Huh? Right? Yeah. All right, and now let's see who's memorized this. You got it last time, so that's good. But let's see if someone else has got it. Almost there. Oh, missing one thing. Yep. Yep. And then args. Perfect. All right. Good job. All right, and again, let's just do a test. Make sure we've got everything going. So we're going to print out "Hello World." This will be good for our people who for whom it has been a while and they're returning to Java. And then whoop. Perfect. All right. So then navigate to your folder on command line. Okay. Does everyone remember how to use command line? CD, dir, all that good stuff. All right. And then how do I compile this? Yep. Perfect. And then once I've done that, what should I see? Perfect. Ah, typing is hard. There we go. Okay. So has everyone got their project running? Give people a couple minutes to catch up. And that fan is really nice. You got the best seat. Alright, is everyone caught up to this point? Yeah? Maybe not? You're good? Okay. Good? Good? How's he doing? He's working on it? Does he need help? Okay. Okay. Alright. So we'll continue then. Alright. So, calculator. Today we're actually going to learn some very, very, very practical stuff. Java is, what we've been learning is kind of raw Java, right? Just the basic constructs of the language. But Java also has what's called a standard library. The standard library is a giant, massive, enormous collection of code that does a lot of stuff for you. Okay, so like system.out.println, right? That's part of the Java standard library. We don't have to write all of the crazy code that's necessary to print to the screen. So we're going to take a minute to go through the Java documentation, teach you guys how to read they're called Java docs. And that way you can search the Java standard library for anything you need. If it's like connecting to a database or starting a web server or something like that. There are many, or doing security or random numbers, mathematical operations, all these sorts of things are part of the Java standard library. So let's take a minute and go to our good friend Google. And we're going to use an object from the Java standard library today called scanner. So if you search for Java scanner, all right, and you'll see basically the Oracle Help Center and then the name of the class, right? That's what we want. This is the Java docs. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So a couple of things. So scanner is the class that we're going to use. We've been making our own classes, but in this case, we're going to use a class that's from the Java standard library. Okay? And this is the package it's in. A package is a way to organize code, right? So when you have hundreds of thousands of classes, you don't want them all in the same folder, right? That would be impossible to manage. So Java uses packages to help you organize things. It's similar to C# namespaces. So in this case, it's in the Java util package. Util is often short for utility. And this tells you any interfaces it implements, which we haven't covered yet. And it gives you a brief description of what it is and how to use it. So in this case, this is how you create a scanner, okay, that takes an input from the command line. Okay? There's a whole bunch of stuff going on here that we're not covering this week, okay? So just know that this will create a new scanner for us. Next week, we'll be covering what this actually means, okay? But for now, we just know this is what we need. And then this will give us the next integer, the next whole number that a person types in to the console. And then this is all basically part of the description. And then if you keep scrolling down, lots of people use scanner, so there's a lot of documentation for it. This is the constructor summary. Don't worry about that yet. We'll cover that next week. And this is the method summary. Remember how there's like system out print line, and print line is a method? And 2 weeks ago, we defined our own add method. These are methods that the scanner has. Okay, so it has a close method. It has a find method. It has a hasNext method. All of these different methods that the Java developers have written for us that we can use. Now, the way this works is this is the method signature. Okay, so this is the name of the method, and then there are any inputs it takes, including the data type and the name of the parameter, just like how we've done. And then this is what it outputs. Okay, so you remember how 2 weeks ago we were outputting ints and floats and things like that? It's the same thing. In this case, they're outputting a Boolean, true or false. And then this is a description of what the method does. All right. And then each of these is a link, so if you click one of these, it'll give you a more detailed message about what it is and how it works and things like that. Okay? Questions about how to read Java docs? So far, so good? All right. So, just like we saw before, we want to use scanner because we want users to be able to type things into our calculator. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it because there's no other way to do this. So we're going to do that. But I am going to rename it from SC. I'm going to call it scanner because I want my code to be easily readable. Okay? Can anyone tell me why I'm not calling it scanner with a capital S? Nope. Nope. What is this? That's the data type. So that's already a used word. But a lowercase is a completely different word to Java. So, yes, thank you. Okay. but I want to show them how it breaks first. Okay? So has everyone got this down? Okay? So now in theory, we should be able to compile this, right? So if I do javac calculator.java, boom! It broke. Okay? Cannot find symbol. And then it points to the symbol that it cannot find. It cannot find scanner. Java doesn't know what a scanner is. But that's weird, because we just looked at the documentation, and it's like, here's a scanner, right? So why can't it find it? The Java standard library is huge, right? So if every single Java program had the whole standard library as a part of it, your tiny little Java program would also be huge, because it's using all of that code. So what they've done is, when you have things that are in different packages, they're separate. And if you want to use them, you have to import them. You have to tell Java, hey, I want this thing from the utilities package. And that way you only pull in what you need. And instead of your application going like this from the whole standard library, when you pull one thing in, it just goes like this. Not so bad. So what we need to do is, before our class, does anyone remember the package that scanner is in? And if you don't remember, you know where you can find it now, right? So someone tell me what it is, not Anthony. Yep. What util? Yep. So tell me what, or yeah, so I didn't tell you what to do yet. So you do import to import the package, or to import the class, and then you give the package path, which was Java util. And now we have a couple of options. If we do .star, we will get everything from that package. Sometimes that's useful. But in our case, we just want one class. So we're going to put scanner. Okay? So now, don't forget to save. Always hit save. Control S or Command S. Now, if we try to compile it, if I could learn to type, everything's okay. Java found the Java util package, grabbed the scanner class, and now we're good. Okay? Nothing's happening yet, but it works. It runs. Okay? So, let's, now that we've kind of covered some of the kind of basic informational stuff, let's design our calculator. Okay? You need to know what you're building and how it should work before you start building it. Okay? So we're going to do, let's do this. We're just going to do a basic command line calculator. Okay? So a user will run our program, so they'll do like, whoa. Okay then. Someone broke the rules and did not. Alright, here we go, guys. There we go. Okay. Is this a good one? No. Cool. Alright. Right. So, someone's going to run our program. Right? And then we want to tell them, hey, you can use me, you can do stuff, right? So we're just going to do a basic function calculator. Okay? So you have like your tiny little calculator, right? What are the steps you need to take in order to do a calculation? What do you need to enter? 2 numbers, and what else? Yep, so your operator. Yep. Your 2 numbers and your operator, and then what? Yep. Cool. So 2 numbers and an operator. What order do I do that in? Yes. So the first thing is going to be number, and then operator. Ah! Okay. And then the other number, and then calculate, or equals, or whatever. Okay. So we need the user to give us these pieces of information. But the user is not psychic. We need to tell them to do these things. So in the past, how did we put stuff onto the screen? System. Yep. So if we want the user to input a number, what should we do? Yep. And then what? Perfect. All right. So that gets us towards our first step. Now, at this point, cool, we've got the user's attention. We told them what we want them to do, but now we need to actually get that number that they put in. Okay? I'll give people a second to type this. All right, looks good. I think we're good. All right. Now, how given? Let's. So we have our scanner, and scanner, its purpose is to take input from the user. Okay. So we need to figure out how do we get input from the user. Scanner has a whole bunch of functions that start with next, and these scan the next token of the input as whatever you try to pull it in as, right? So if we want them to give us an integer, we can do next int. Now, here's something to be careful of. If on scanner you say, hey, give me the next integer, but then the person types like A, it's going to explode, right? You're going to have a problem. However, for today, just because we're doing basic stuff, we're going to make the very poor assumption that our user will behave properly. In the real world, you'd want to be like, oh, I want an integer, but the person might enter a symbol or a or letter or something, and you'd want to handle that. But for our purposes, just for practice, we're just going to assume that the user does exactly what we tell them to do. Okay? So we can use next int to grab the next integer that they're going to give to us. And then that outputs what? What does next int return? Yep. I'm sorry if I'm asking very basic questions, but you need to get used to thinking in this way. So we want to capture that input and store it in a variable to do our calculations with later. So we can do something like first number is scanner dot next int. Okay. And then we want to prove that this will work, so we should test it. Okay. Oh, thank you. It is capital I. Yeah. And yes, I missed the T. Thank you. Okay. So then, let's do a test, and let's make sure that this behaves the way we expect it to. Okay. Whoop. That was the Sublime please pay for it pop-up. Yeah. It is free, but they just bug you like, do you want to give us money? Sometimes. And I should, but I just haven't yet. Alright. So now if we run this, or if we compile it, and then we run it. Typing is hard. You'll see it says enter a number, and then it waits. If we enter some number, you see it captured it, and it printed it back out. So far, so good. Scanner captures whatever data is put into command line. So if you were to take your class file and give it to someone else and be like, oh, if you do Java calculator, you can start using the calculator, they could do that. It's not a real world scenario, but just getting practice. Okay. So basically that, right? Anyone who has our class file could do this if they had the JRE installed. Okay. So now, we got this is done. All right. So can anyone take a guess at what we would do for the next one? Yep. So how would we do that? It's very similar to what we just did. Yep. We're going to be a little more explicit. And we're going to say plus, minus, times, or slash. All right. Now, I'm not going to go to the scanner documentation. Can someone tell me what I would need to do to capture the next operator? You may need to go look at the scanner docs. And I promise that on other weeks, this is more teaching stuff. It's just this week is more of a practice week. Ah, hint. Does anyone remember what we call text in programming? Yes.
There's the operator text.
Yes. What's up? Sorry? Yeah, but we're doing a very naive calculator right now. Or am I misunderstanding your question? Slack. Oh. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a Anthony brought up a good point. Since it's a single character, we don't have to use a string. Does anyone remember what a string is composed of? Yeah. So we could do that. But what should I type if we want to do characters? We're going to call it operator. Maybe. I don't know. I don't actually know scanner that well. It is? Are you sure? Huh? I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I guess there is no character. I guess we do have to do string. Let's look for a char. Or no, this is down, so yeah. It does not have an X char, so we're just going to use an X string. My bad. Sorry, guys. Okay. And then let's show. This is not Python. Okay. And now, just because I don't want to waste your guys' time, for the second operator, we're just going to copy that. we're going to slightly change it. Okay? So get your program to looking something like this. We might have time to do that. Yeah, we might do that. We'll see. And give me a signal when you've caught up. What's up? Oh, really? Oh, that's right. It's just next. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Next line? I should read the docs. RTFM, right? Oh, that's right. Yeah, let's just stick with this though. Just for, well, yeah, let's do that. So that's right, because they're both what? 8-bit? Are they both? Okay. How many? What is it? 16 bits for both? Or really? Then that wouldn't work. Java primitive type sizes. Chars are 16 bits, ints are 32 bits. Our good buddy Stack Overflow. That, yeah, so they use string. Okay. Yeah, because using next int wouldn't work because an integer is 32 bits, a character is 16 bits, and so you have an item this big and you're trying to put it into a box this big, and that doesn't work. Okay. So I apologize for the confusion, everyone. It is just going to be next, and it is going to be a string for your operator. This is what I get for not following the tutorial I wrote for myself. I have the same exact thing right here and I'm not using it. Yeah, try it. You did it? And it works? Yeah. Okay. So now you do enter a number, let's say 5, plus minus times or slash, let's say plus, and 1. Cool. Alright, so we entered a bunch of stuff and it captured it. That's cool. But how do we do our calculation? Well, excuse me. We have to calculate the answer. All right, so we've got these down. How do we do this? So, given that this is a string, and we're looking for one of these, when we have one thing and we're looking for something else, what are we doing between the two things? All right? If I'm looking at you and I'm looking at you and I'm trying to see if you're the same, what is that called? Begins with a C. Yes. I'm comparing. So when you do compare, what are your comparison operators? Remember conditions? Yep. If equals, greater than, less than, equal to, all those sorts of things. So, but I want, this is a string, and these are strings. So what do I need to do with strings? I can't use double equals. Do you remember what we need to do? Yes. Okay. Now I want to compare, and then depending on that comparison, I want to take some sort of action. All right. So then when I have to make a decision, what sort of thing do I need to use? Remember the branching thing? You mentioned it earlier. No. Much. Well, you could do a switch, but yeah. That's how you, when you think I need to make a decision, think conditions. If else, or switch case, these sorts of things, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to check if our operator does that make sense? And then we can do something like I'm going to do something like this so I don't have to scroll sideways. Hey, Anthony. I forget. If I don't have these parentheses, will it convert this to a string and then convert this to a string, or will it evaluate these as an integer? Really? Okay. Then forget that. Just to be clear. Yeah. Ah! There we go. Even if they're preceded by a string? I'm not sure if it does total evaluation or stepwise. Stepwise? Okay, so yeah, then that would not be good. So, thank you. So with, I keep defaulting to Anthony because he's like right in front of me. And you're like way over there. I'm sorry, Charlie. I love you, Charlie. Words are hard. So basically we're printing out that the sum is, and then we use these parentheses because what might happen is if we just did sum plus first number plus second number, what it might do is it might take this first number and then insert it into the string, and then take the second number and insert it into the string, rather than doing the mathematical plus operation. So by adding parentheses, whoops, we tell Java, hey, do this first, and then do this. And these are both integers, so Java's going to be like, I'm just going to do simple addition. Okay? So, let's test. Enter a number, 5. Let's do plus, and then 1. Good? Yeah. All right. So, what if we wanted to do... Actually, I'm going to let you guys do this. Now, make this work for the other operators as well. Okay? Let's take maybe 5 minutes and see if you can put that together. Okay, Google. Set a timer for 5 minutes.
Well, because if I put the minus, that means that my operator did not equal.
Correct.
That's right.
But you want a condition in
Uh-huh.
addition to the else, right? What do you think when you think condition?
Condition.
Yeah. So this is your condition, right? This could be true or false. You're testing.
Right.
You're doing
Right.
a comparison. So else alone means no condition. Else is only if all of the previous conditions have failed,
Fail.
right?
Oh, okay.
But if we want to do the previous condition failed and we want to check a new condition, what do we do?
Just put if.
Else if.
Else if. So sometimes I don't even need else. I thought I always needed if and else and else if.
No, you can do only if.
So from next ones, I'm gonna have to have like multiplying and dividing, right? Do I just keep putting else if? From
If you keep having conditions, yeah. Division is slash. So if you want, yeah, so you would want to do next floats. You'd want to convert first number and second number to floats. So in this case, you're only taking in integers. Okay. You want to take in floats. The scanner also has a next float. Right? But then you also need to change. Yeah. 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 But you would also want to do that for your. So you're getting ahead. We're going to do that in a couple minutes. That's good. Good thinking. I need more people for this. That's very good. All right, 5 minutes is up. All right, folks. So if you have something that looks like this, then you're good. Typing is still hard. You know, why don't we just do... What's the result of subtraction? Difference, thank you. Man, you would think as a native... Whoa. You would think as a native English speaker I would have that stuff on lock. Okay, so has everyone got something that looks like this? Cool. Now, what's another way I could write this? Actually, there's two other ways I could write this. One way is I could just have these be separate if statements. I could do that. That would be functionally the same because operator can only be equal to one thing, right? The problem with doing it this way is that if it would check every single one every time, right? If we do else if this one is true, it skips the rest. Okay? So the worst case is we still go through all of them, right? But there will be cases where we hit this one and then we skip the rest, and that's a tiny bit faster. Okay? That's not a huge deal. Like in your normal life, you wouldn't worry about that too much, but I want to get you guys used to thinking, hey, what would be a little bit faster? Okay? So this, when you do else if, you have the opportunity for a shortcut if the logic fits. Okay? We could also do a switch case. We could do something like... Actually, wait. Switch case does work with strings, right? I'm pretty sure it does. Charlie? Switch case string? Good, right? 1.6, that's right. Cool. So you could also do this. Let me scroll down so people can actually see it. You could also do something like this. I'm not going to keep this, so you don't have to type it if you don't want to. But this is not Python. You get the idea. Right, so that you could do that too. But in our case, we'll just stick with if-else for now, just because it's easy. Now, let's get slightly more advanced. What if our user did not enter a proper Gesundheit? What if our user did not enter a proper operator? What should we do? There's a couple of things we can do. But does anyone have ideas? What's that? Yes. Where should I do that? Yeah. Oh, what? Come on, Java. Oh, that's right. That's IntelliJ, not Java. I just did this plus for the new line because I don't want to have to scroll. It's the same thing. Okay. So now, if we do we get a first number. Let's do, let's get fancy. Let's divide by 5. Ooh, quotient is 0. That's actually kind of surprising. I thought it would return a float. Well, that's a good segue. So, and then let's try with, let's try it with a non, let's do A. Please try again with a valid operator. Good. All right. So cool, that works. We have a basic calculator, but let's advance it a little more, right? Generally, with software development, we're kind of doing things in like you might have heard agile, right? You've heard agile. Has anyone else heard of like agile development? No? It's a big buzzword in software engineering. But what it really boils down to is get the thing working and then just keep adding it. And at any given point, your program should be working. Okay? So now we have something that's working. It's not very nice. It's not very robust. It doesn't have all the features we want, but it's working. So we start with that. That's called minimum viable product, or MVP for short. Once you get into the business world, MVP is very, very important. Okay? So we have our MVP. Good. Step 1 is done. But now we want to advance it. We want to make it better. We want to progress to meet all the needs of a calculator. So let's get to it. First off, we only accept integers. That kind of sucks. What if the person wants to do 2.5 plus 1.5, right? How would we allow that? What are your data types? Right now we're doing integers. Float. Yes, so what would I do to allow floats? Hint what the line I'm on. Correct. So scanner has a next float. We can check the documentation. Scanner, next float. Scans the next token of the input as a float. Okay, so next float, that's good. Float. We can do the same with second number. We can say next float. Okay? That was line 7 and line 15, if you happen to have the exact same code as I do, which you might not. Okay? So now if we run our program, and we do 1 divided by 5, now we get a nice decimal number. Okay? However, you'll also notice that it always shows up with the dot 0. That is the nature of float. Okay? That's just how floats show up. Alright, so that's a good advancement. We now support decimal numbers. Now, what if the person enters the wrong operator? What happens right now? Correct. So then, if the user wants to re-enter their calculation with a different operator, what do they have to do? Yes. That sucks, right? That's not very good. So I'm going to help you guys cheat a little bit. We're going to change something. We're actually learning this in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I lost my curriculum. I think we're doing this in 2 weeks, but we're going to kind of cheat, and I'm going to give you guys something. If you just type this, or we need to, part of me wonders if we should have waited on this, but, right, hold up, let me double check. Yeah, okay. Actually, I have my example. Why do I keep looking shit up? Okay. We don't even need this. We can just do this. Okay. So you'll notice I added these two imports, and I added this line. Okay? The highlighted text is everything that I added. Now this is, right now, crazy voodoo magic. Okay? Don't worry about what this means for now. We're covering this part in 2 weeks. Okay? I kind of wanted to wait to do the calculator, but all the past weeks have just been me like throwing information at you, and I wanted you guys to get more practice. So that's why we're doing this now rather than later. Okay? But just a brief overview. We're not going to go fully into it. List is something that allows us to store multiple values at once, all right, as long as they are the same type. Okay, so this is the type that we're storing, and this is a list to store many instances of that type. Okay, we're going to call this valid operators. This is operators that we're okay with, that we do support and that we allow. Okay, and then this is just a way to create a list from a bunch of inputs. Okay. Don't worry too much more about what this does. It'll make much more sense in 2 weeks when we cover collections. This is what's called a collection, but not today. Okay? Kind of cheating stuff. So now, what we can do is, this is the part where things can possibly suck. right? We want to check the operator that they give us, and if it's valid, we want to keep going. And if it's not valid, we want to ask them again and say, hey, give us a valid operator. Okay? So if we're going to keep doing something until some condition is true, what do we use? Yes. We do a while loop. So first, we need to set operator as some initial value. We're going to start it as blank. Okay? And then, while, so a little thing, list has a method called contains. And it takes in one input. And if the list contains that input, it returns true. If it doesn't contain that input, it returns false. Okay? So what we can do is we can say valid operators.contains and then the given operator. Okay? But this will return true if it does contain it, right? This will return true if the operator they gave us is a valid operator, right? But we want to keep going if that's not true. So does anyone remember what symbol we use to negate? Yes. Exclamation mark, yes. Bang, exclamation mark, they're the same thing. Okay? So what this reads as is while valid operators does not contain the given operator, then we continue. Okay? Now, when this first runs, operator is blank, right? And we don't have a blank string in our valid operators. All right? So this ends up being true, and we know it'll run at least once. Okay? So we don't need to do any funky do while stuff. And now we can just say, so first off, we actually, yeah, we'll just do this. Okay? So then this will repeat until the operator they give us is in the valid operators list. Okay?
So in this case, do we need this if part? If this part? Because we already set the valid operator list.
So we do still need it because this is not checking if they gave us a valid operator. What is this doing?
Oh, this is calculating our valid.
Correct. That's a good thought. When you do make improvements, you want to go, is there anything I can remove? That's a really, really, really good thought. So good way of thinking. In this case, however, the answer is no. We can't. Actually, there is one part we can remove.
Over here?
At the bottom, yeah.
Oh, this one else part.
Yes, correct. Okay? So now that we've guaranteed that we'll get a valid operator, we don't need this else. Okay? I want to stress something to everyone. Whenever you make improvements, ask yourself, is there something I can remove? Okay? You want your code to be a little bit concise. Okay? It needs to be as long as it needs to be clear, but also as short as it can be. Because when you have too much extra stuff, it can get confusing. Okay? So we made an improvement where we guarantee that we get a valid operator. All right? So we don't need this anymore. So let's get rid of it. All right? Now, our valid operator check. Line 19 will not compile. Can anyone tell me why? I'll give you a hint. This will not compile. This is not a logic thing. This is a like Java language thing. I actually might not have covered this, so I'll just explain. When you have a variable name preceded by the data type, it's a declaration. You're telling Java there is a variable of this name of this type. Okay, we did that in class 1, if you guys remember. Okay. The problem is you can only do declaration for a given variable name once within a scope. Okay? So we did it up here already. We can't do it again down here. Whenever you have your curly brackets, that's entering a new scope. Okay? And if anything's in the parent scope, anything outside of the brackets before it gets inherited inside. Okay? So this exists in here because it inherits it from the outside. Okay? So because this is already declared, we can't declare it again. So if we remove this, it is no longer a declaration. We're just setting operator to a new value. Okay? So now, let's test. I am so bad at typing. Okay, so enter a number. Let's do 3. Let's give an invalid operator. I'm gonna give it a square bracket. Okay? Let's actually pull this up so you guys can see. Hey, it did it again. And it will keep doing it until I enter a valid operator. Let's see if it continues when I enter a valid operator. Let's give it a plus. Good. Now it asks for the second number. Let's do 1. There we go. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Does Java autocast characters to strings? It's a primitive to an object. So a character data type? If you try to set a string variable to a character, does that work? So if I do something like this. No, that's a character. No. This is string. These are double quotes. This is character. It will autocast? Okay, cool. Actually, we can test. Will it compile? No, it doesn't like it. Char cannot be converted to string. So that answers your question. What's that? Yeah, because the plus operator is super fancy now. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right. Because Python's operators are really silly. Have you looked up how they work under the hood? Have you looked up how Python's operators work under the hood? All of their operators are methods. Yeah. It's cool. Look it up. And it's a different method for every type. So integers have an add method that gets called whenever you do the plus operator. But yeah. Huh? Kind of, yeah. Cool. So, wow, we are really good on time. Okay. There is another improvement we can make. Right now, we expect the user to enter a float. Okay? That's probably a bad expectation, right? People are not great at typing. And right now, if we try to run our program, I don't need to recompile because that compilation failed. If we do something like this, boom! I put an A. It's an input mismatch. I put an A, but it wants a float. Okay? I don't know if I want to teach exception handling today. Yeah, I don't know if I want to teach that today. We only have 30 minutes. Yeah. But then how do I do an exception loop? Yeah. This is actually where my planning stopped. So now we're winging it. That what? Yeah. Wait, really? Oh, that's right, that's right. Okay, sorry. I'm dumb. So scanner has these has next methods. Thank you. And these has next methods will actually check for you if what the user entered is the data type that you want. Okay? So we can be like, oh, is has next a float? And it will tell us yes or no. Okay, so we can do loops and conditions again. So we can do something like, okay. This is just assuming that they're going to give us a float, but we should check. So scanner has no. Oh my god, I didn't plan this out. We'll YOLO it. That's right, okay. So if we do something like this, then we'll only try to scan the next float if they gave us a float. Now, this is not what we want. Not exactly this. Why? No. No, because we'll only get to this if what they gave us was a float. Yeah. If they give us something that's not a float, this will never run. And it'll skip first number. All right? Also, something to note. If you ever do a declaration, similar to what we did down here, if you ever have a declaration inside a condition or a loop, stop for a second. Because when you declare inside this scope, it only exists inside this scope. So when this scope ends, first number is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. So then later, if we try to access first number, Java's going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. What is first number? Okay? So whenever you start doing nested scopes, you want to take your declaration and you want to move it outside. Okay? So that's one thing. Now, as we mentioned before, if they give us something that's not a float, this will not run. Okay? So we can do similar to what we did down here. We can say, well, they have not given us a float. Ask for the next number. I think. And we don't want this to be an if, we want this to be a while. Right? Is that what we want? Programming on the fly is kind of terrifying. Actually, no, that's not what we want at all. I'm too tired to be doing this. But I want to go back and have them try again. I could do it another way, but I'm trying to keep it concise. Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. But then I have to deal with then I have to deal with parsing exceptions and stuff. Uh, yeah. I forget to string in it. No, it doesn't. What? And then we do something like I'm just gonna. Oh man, figuring stuff out on the fly. Sorry, folks. Give me a second to. No. Nope, that will throw an error. I don't want to deal with error throwing. I really don't want to deal with error throwing. Nope. No. I want to do it without doing exceptions. You see the problem I'm running into? If I do an exception, then I have to loop within the catch. Right, Charlie? I feel like there's a way to do it. That's right. Okay. Now I remember. Now I remember. Um... Ah! Wrong key. We can actually just do this. Charlie, is this what I want? I think this is what I want. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's try it. I want to try it before I start explaining it to you. I don't want to confuse you guys with stuff that doesn't work. So I want to make sure it works before, calculator. Uh-oh. Ah, that's right. Ooh, look at it go. Ooh, does has next not block? Let's also do something like this. There we go. That's what I want. That's what we want. Yeah, I think that's what we want. Okay, let's try this. Oh God! Yeah, but the while true should go back to this. Oh, but it's not advancing the scanner. So we need to... How do we tell the scanner to advance? I guess that would work. There's not a way to just advance it? I mean, next would work. Yeah, I guess we'll just do next. Hey. Beautiful. Okay, so what the hell did we just do? All right. This is a little bit confusing, but that's what makes it fun. So, first, because we're going to be doing something inside of a whole bunch of crazy different scoping stuff, we declare our first number. Okay? We just set it, we just say, hey, we're going to have this variable so that later on we can use it. Because, again, if we declare it inside this context, it will only exist inside that context. And then later, when we try to do our calculations, it won't be there. That's why we do this. Then we tell the user, hey, enter a number. And then we want to keep going until I guess we could technically do, I think we could technically do something like this. No, we don't. Because, oh, we could do, hold up. I should use the stuff that I teach. Is that what I want? I think that's what we want. Let's test. Oh, maybe not. What? What you talking about? Did I forget how to do a do while? No. What is going on here? First number might not have been initialized. It's right here, though. What is this madness? That goes to that. That goes to that. We have... Hey, Charlie, I have a syntax error. First number might not have been initialized, but we declare it here. Oh, initialized. I thought primitives automatically initialize. No. Oh. I thought primitives automatically initialize. Instantiate. I really thought that primitives had initial values. Yeah, I know integer initializes to 0. Hold up. I mean, they should be the same. They're both primitives. Every primitive should have a... Huh. Well, okay. But it's a primitive. Okay. I think it works with int. because I use it at work. I used it at work yesterday. Did I save? I saved. Well, I guess I'm wrong. Maybe there's something weird about my Java environment. Okay. Sorry, guys. So we have to set first number to some initial value. I thought you didn't have to do that with primitives, but I was wrong. I apologize. So we set it to an initial value, okay? Because when we later try to use it, it's going to complain that, hey, I'm not sure if you actually set this or not. Okay? So we do this to guarantee that it's been set. Okay? And then, let's test. Good. Cool. So, yeah. Now, we're going to do a do while, because at least once we want to tell the user, hey, enter a number. Oh, you know what we can do? We can do this and make it even better. Right? Okay. Oh, maybe not. Never mind. Never mind. Okay. I'm going to stop messing around and teach you guys. So we ask the user for input, and then we want to do this at least once, because we need to at least try to capture the input once. Okay, so we're going to do a do while. And then we check to see if the number that they've entered is a float. Now, or the input that they've entered is a float. Now, something to be careful of with scanner. Scanner has the idea of advancement. Okay? The idea is when you consume some input, then it advances and looks for the next input. Okay? And it will stop the program from running until it receives the next input. Okay? That's what it means by consuming and blocking and all that sort of stuff. The has next methods don't advance. Okay, so if you don't tell it, hey, look for the next input, it'll just chill. So that's no good. So in the event that what they enter is not a float, this will not execute. And we have, this is kind of our failure case, where we ask them to enter a number again, and we advance the scanner. We say, hey, what they gave us wasn't what we're looking for. Let's look for the next thing. Okay, so that's why we do this line right here. All right? Now, in the event they do enter a number that is a float, we do exactly what we did before. We scan the number in, and we save it to first number, and then we print out what they entered, just to, give user feedback. And then this break breaks us out of this loop. We could actually probably do without it now that we have this condition down here. Let's test. I don't think we need... so remember when we covered switch case? And we had break to get out of the switch? That works for loops as well. You can break out of for loops. You can break out of while loops. Okay? So I think we don't need this anymore, because if this condition, if this is true, this is not true, and then our loop should stop. So then I don't think we need a break. Let's test. Good. Oh, that's kind of weird, but whatever. Cool. Works. All right. All right, last thing. Okay. Now, we have this for our first number, right? This is really good, though. We want to do this for the second number, too. But your initial thought might be, oh, well, let me just copy and paste this and change it for second number. No, 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 no. I know I did that earlier, but it was bad. Whenever you start copying and pasting code, you should stop and think, should I wrap this in a function? Yeah. So what we can do is we can declare a new function. float input. Okay? And okay. We can do something like this. Okay? And now with this, we can take this logic, okay? And we can just take this and put it here. And now, so this is our logic that does all that trial and stuff to get the number. And then we can take all of this logic and just wrap it up into a small little function name. All right? We pass it, we do the scanner as input so that this is able to use the scanner. Okay? And oh, it also has to be static because we're doing it in public static void main. So don't forget this. Okay? The static. I forgot to add that earlier. All right? So now, once we move this to here, we can go back to where we were, and now our code gets a lot cleaner. That's a lot easier. And then for our second number, we can do the same thing. And there we go. So all that crazy logic around our do while loop and checking if the scanner has a next float, we just moved all of that into this function, right? And once we get this number, we return it as output. And then when we're actually trying to get our first number and our second number, we just call this function. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There we go. Good catch. Okay. Does everyone understand why we're doing this? Better question. Who doesn't understand why we're doing this? Okay. Which part don't you understand? Do you understand why we're creating the function at all? Or do you not understand how we're creating the function?
I feel like I understand. Like I understand the system, the do and if and if logic. I can
Yep.
understand that part.
Okay.
But I don't understand the consume flow input part.
Okay. So all of this logic, we're going to do it twice, right? We're just going to do it for first number, and we're going to do it for second number. But I don't want to have to write this code again, okay? Anytime you're copying and pasting code, you should go, wait a second. This feels like a bad idea. So instead of that, we're going to take all this code, and we're going to put it into a function. And then instead of copying all this code again, we just call this function twice. And that's a lot easier. Now I call the consume float input, or maybe let's change it to ask and get float. Let's call it that instead. Is that a little clearer? Yeah. Yes. So scanner, remember how I said when you declare a variable, it's only in the context you declared it in? So we declared scanner here. Okay? Now that's only in this context. So scanner does not exist in this function.
Sorry, I mean like the line 48, scanner, not next.
Ah,
Why do you have to?
sorry, I misunderstood. So uh, in our loop, so this part is the loop, right? When we do this, we're not saying ask for the next input. It's just checking the input that was given last. If we do this, it says, okay, forget the last input. Let's look for the next one. Does that make sense? Cool. We don't need to do that here because this does the same thing as this. It's just that regardless of whether or not the thing they gave us is what we're looking for, we need to look for the next thing. Yeah. So because we have this here, we should also have something that does that there. Yeah, right here. Must be from being wet earlier. All right. Does anyone else need to see any other portion of the code? Now, what I recommend everyone do is take a few moments and comment your code. Because next week, you're going to be like, what the hell is this? If you don't remember comments, 2 slashes is a single line comment. The /* is a multi-line comment. Okay? So take some time, write some notes for yourself. But just to kind of wrap up, today we built a calculator. We used variables. We created our own method, and we used that. We used a while loop, which we learned in the past, and we used conditions, which we learned in the past. Now, we didn't use for loops, and we didn't use switch case, but that's okay. We'll have plenty of chances to use those in the future. So, yeah. Now you have your own calculator. Feel free to do things to make it even fancier if you want. And as always, if you have questions, you can chat with us on Slack. Alternatively, we set up a Kakao open chat. So if you, on your Kakao, actually, let me just show you how it works. If on Kakao Talk, you click the plus symbol right here, and you go to open chat, you can search for LTC, and we should show up as Learn Teach Code Seoul. Okay? So if you would prefer Kakao instead of Slack, that works. If you're talking about code, like if you're copying and pasting code, we do recommend Slack because it's just easier. But if you just want to chat or ask conceptual questions or just talk to people, Kakao is good. So yeah. Any questions before we call it a day? I just returned the number that we've been working to get. Yeah. Oh. Hmm. Uh-oh. Oh, is it blocking again? It said user entered, so it shouldn't be blocking anymore. Uh-oh. Especially since I'm supposed to leave, like, now. Uh... Huh. Sorry? Yeah. I remove the break. Yeah, because this will end up causing the loop to end. It might be... It might be that the scanner needs to be advanced. Maybe not. Let me get the behavior one more time. So if we go happy path... Oh, I didn't compile it. Right. We need that break. Sorry. Man, I am all sorts of messing up. See, this is what happens when you don't take time to think and plan your code. There we go. Yeah, because what was happening was... Yeah? Okay. That's not good. Ooh. Oh. That's a sign of a problem. Why does that print twice? Oh. So something is happening where operator's consuming the next given input. And that would make sense because in our function, let me get rid of these comments. In our function, we're checking the next input. So we haven't advanced, but we still interacted with. So it's probably going to grab the previous thing before moving on. Now that makes sense. However, I would expect that if we reset the scanner, that would no longer be a problem. But when we test it, that's not the case. So can we nope. Hey, Charlie Anthony, I could use some help here. In our current version, the scanner, it runs a has next float, and then it does not. What's up? Yeah, I think it's. And it doesn't work with the reset or without. So what happens is the behavior we get is when this loop executes more than once, the scanner gets jacked up. This should only run when the scanner fails to grab the correct operator. But there is a problem where the scanner is grabbing the... Wait, what? Yeah. So the scanner passes this input to the next call of scanner as well. It gets passed twice. So let's do this step by step. Uh-oh. Shit. So this says enter a number. Okay, that's this right here. And then we enter our do loop, and it hits this has next float. Okay? This does not advance the scanner. Okay? So let's give it a bogus thing. All right? So this fails, and then this grabs... Yeah. This is the problem. But if we don't have this... Yeah. Because the scanner hasn't been... Because the scanner is never told to stop. So how do we... Nope. Oh, wait, what? So maybe instead of next, maybe we want to reset. Ah. We only want to reset when things don't go correctly. There we go. Nope. Crap. Right. Right. So that's this part. And then we do this, right? But then we need to loop. But I still need to advance the scanner, which causes this problem. Because otherwise I'll get that infinite loop. Because the... Yeah. Actually, you know what? Oh. What? But won't this advance the scanner? Note to self, kids. Whenever you're using a library that you're not super familiar with, take your time to do your research. Also, if people need to run, feel free. Don't... Does this advance... So this blocks input, though. So I would expect this to not work, because it would block. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's just do this. Oh, the formatting is terrible. Whatever. That's fine. Oh, does... Huh. Oh. Does that mean... I don't know. Let's try it. Oh, right. What? Oh. There we go. Really? Yeah, I didn't think this would work because this is asking it to block twice. Let's try this. Welcome to debugging. Nope, because that doesn't. The short answer is yep. Man, I hate Scanner. Charlie Anthony, help! Yeah. Uh, all right. Tell you what, I'm gonna try to figure this out tonight, and I'll send a message out on Slack once I figure it out, cause I hate Scanner. And I need some time to like, cause now I'm in rush mode, and I'm like, oh, try this, try this, try this. I'm not sitting and thinking. So, yeah. But yeah. 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 So all of the code that we've been writing, I've been putting it on GitHub. Really? But that will block a second time. And we'll still run into this infinite loop. Yeah, so the problem with this is that no, this will be an infinite loop. Right? Has next cuz has next is not blocking. So it's right here. Has next. Yeah, so oh, may block while oh, I was wrong. Oh, nope. There is no break. Do you have it working? Oh. What do you have? Oh, whoa. Oh, right, because once we grab the correct input, yeah, because so this will block, but this should block regard. Whatever. Let's try it. Nope. Because once we do this, the the scanner never gets advanced. Down here? Whoa! I can't freaking keyboard. Okay, let's try that. How many developers does it take to make a calculator? Ah, you guys are so good. Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, because first number is 0 up here. Whoa. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. We only want to do this when oh yeah, oops. There we go. Hey. Okay. So how does this work? So has the trick here is I made a poor assumption about has next. Okay. Um, when your program stops executing, when it pauses, that's called blocking. Okay. So I thought that has next was non-blocking. In other words, when this function runs, the program will continue to run. Most functions are non-blocking. But if you look at the scanner documentation, returns true if the scanner has another token as input. This method may block while waiting for input to scan. So when we call has next, it may cause our program to stop and wait for something. I misunderstood that. So this will cause our program to wait. And then if the input that was given was a float, we'll break out of this loop and then actually consume it. Okay? In the event that the next input they gave was not a float, we'll do our failure case, where we'll go, okay, they entered this, please enter a number. Thank you so much. This is why you read the documentation, because I misunderstood how this works. Any questions about this part now? It's a lot simpler than before, too. Hmm. Yeah. So let's no, it's fine. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So the problem here is that this would advance the input and try to get the next one. So what would happen is it would interfere with this one. Because it would try to, let's actually, I totally just messed up my history, but that's okay. So what would happen is we did this, right? And this consumed that and advanced the scanner. And then this was checking the previous input. And this would cause it to not advance. So then when we called this one, instead of blocking and looking for the next and then advancing, it was going back to what had already been entered because the has next float caused it to not advance. Yeah. Yeah. So and then because the number that was given for the previous input isn't a valid operator, it would happen again. Yeah. Does that make sense? Cool. So yeah. So this, the working version, is what we will post online in a few minutes. Yeah, I'll post it on GitHub, and I'll post a link to it on Slack. But it'll be later tonight because I'm already late for something. So, but yes, thank you for coming, everyone. I apologize for the trouble and going way over time, but next time we will not be coding on the fly like this. So, all right, thank you, everyone.